My generation failed them too. Read the sign by the mother, Becky, and the granddaughter, Amy. My generation will fix this. That was the point of it, the theme and the common hope among the hundreds of thousands massed along Pennsylvania Ave in Washington Saturday afternoon, in support of the students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, survivors of the February 14 mass shooting that left 17 dead. Just reading the signs was an education in national politics, in teenage sociology, and in grief. They were poignant but often funny, photos of victims of gun violence held high next to denunciations of the National Rifle Association and images of cartoon characters. There were signs honoring the victims of Columbine and Newtown, Vegas and Orlando. Slideshow, scenes from March for Our Lives rallies around the world. As many said, this is where the Parkland kids were, so this is where they had to be. Some of the best signs were the simplest, images of school children lost to gun violence. James Hartley quietly sat a few dozen yards from the throngs on Pennsylvania Ave, holding a photo of Sarah Engel, a 6-year-old who was murdered at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. Newtown really affected me, said Hartley, who lives in Frederick, Maryland, and I just wanted to bear witness to this. Many had made the trip up from Parkland, Florida. Richard Newberry was one of them, holding a sign that said, "Grab them by their midterms," and passing out some of the hundreds of ribbons the community had made in advance of the march. Splashes of burnt orange and maroon showed the colors of Virginia Tech to honor those killed in the 2007 shooting in Blacksburg, a 4-hour drive from Washington. Tucker Foreman, a D.C. resident, held up a Hokies jersey with the word "Remember." Foreman said he had purchased it the week after the attack. "The reason is the conversation I just had," said Foreman when asked what inspired him to bring the jersey on Saturday. "The gentleman over there asked, 'What's that jersey?' and when I told him he said, 'I forgot.' We can't be in a situation where there are so many of these shootings people forget." Among the thousands of students were a number of teachers, many expressing displeasure with President Trump's idea for stopping school shootings by giving teachers guns to shoot back. "Books not bullets" was a popular refrain. Robert McDaniel of Gainesville, Florida, stood on a pass of grass, holding a sign that said, "Retired Principal Against Arming Teachers." 35 years in public education showed me that teaching is the toughest job around, said McDaniel, and that's without having a gun. He said he had spent the morning with teachers coming up to him to say thank you and take photos. McDaniel said it had been an emotional morning. He and his wife, Anna, had a personal connection to the day's events. They were close friends with the aunt and uncle of Carmen Scantrup, one of the students killed at Parkland. Scantrup had been accepted into the honors program at the University of Florida, where Anna McDaniel serves as Dean of the College of Nursing. Greg and Erin Mueller, a pair of teachers from McLean, Virginia, had brought their 9 and 12-year-old children to the rally to show them what democracy looks like. Erin Mueller's sign read, "I'm a teacher not a solider," and she said that she didn't feel kids would feel safe with armed teachers roaming the school. A common theme among teenage girls attending the rally was the comparison of the number of rules for guns versus the number of restrictions in their respective high school dress codes. Emma, a 14-year-old from Silver Spring, Maryland, held a representative sign that read, "Why are my clothes more regulated than your guns?" Girls especially are very regulated on what they can wear just because it's distracting to boys, said Emma. And the government is doing nothing about things that are actually putting us in danger, things that could be ending that are ending people's lives. Signs also compared how much more strictly women's reproductive rights were restricted than gun ownership. One theme was that students would get more protection from Congress if they never left the womb. Several signs warned men that possession of a firearm did not enhance the size of any body part, one in particular. There were signs meant to interpret the Second Amendment for the benefit of the courts, pointing out the absurdity of using 18th-century policy to regulate 21st-century technology. Muskets. We meant muskets. Read a sign carried by Trish Mansk, who underscored the point by donning a silver Revolutionary War era wig she had purchased just for the occasion. Her son, Sky, 17, said he had just registered to vote in November's election. The crowd's favorite Federalist, by far, was Alexander Hamilton, whose Broadway incarnation in the musical Hamilton was the inspiration for dozens of signs. History has its eyes on you, tomorrow there will be more of us, and I will gladly join the fight. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote the show and starred in it, performed at the rally along with fellow Tony winner Ben Platt from Dear Evan Hansen. One of the attendees with a "History has its eyes on you" sign was Claudia Boutner, a 19-year-old student from Louisiana. "I wanted to speak to my generation," said Boutner when asked why she had chosen those particular lyrics, "because a lot of them don't think about history outside of what's in the book they have to read or look at the news, and I think it's important for them to realize what an important period this is." She said some of her fellow Hamilton fans had been stopping by over the course of the morning. "A couple people have come up to me and said we have the same sign." Dr. Tyr Wilbanks, a trauma surgeon from the Bronx, wore his operating room clothes and held a sign that said, "No more blood on my scrubs." "I could have gone to the New York rally, but I wanted to be where the Florida kids were," said Wilbanks. "If the students from Florida were here, then I should be here. They're like the child who pointed out the emperor has no clothes. They're demanding action and not settling for thoughts and prayers. I'm so proud of what they've done," Wilbanks said of the Parkland students. "They've provided a great counterbalance to the NRA. I wanted to think of the most patronizing thing possible," said Mary McDowell of College Park, Maryland, who had designed a SpongeBob sign for her friend. "And also inject a little humor into this. And change."